Right, and we're back. At least I'm back. I don't know how many of you are still out there, or how this affects the YouTube stream. But sorry about that, folks. It's live radio, TV, whatever you want to call it. We're all working off internet. We're all in different places, all of us, including our producers. So sometimes these things happen, and sometimes they're beyond our control. My internet was actually pretty fast. It seems like Verderame's was as well. The issue may just have been the restream side of things. So Verderame's going to be back with us in just a second. But I did see somebody out there talking about interceptions. Oh, there he is. And we're back.
It was not my internet.
It wasn't your internet.
I'm shocked. I thought for sure I was the reason that this happened. And yet, shockingly, it actually wasn't my fault. So that's progress. Unfortunately, the entire internet went down, and that's not progress.
Yeah, we're down to 5 people hanging with us. Our guys, Lucas and Gonzo, are still there. I'll tweet it back out.
I was going to say, I'll fire it out on the old Twitter machine, see if that helps out.
Get
Thank you for sticking with. Listen, guys, we apologize. Unfortunately, that one, nothing we could really do about. That was out of our control.
Yeah. So, Matt, I guess get this out. Okay. So one of the questions in the chat, and I was thinking a lot about this as well, is, there were still a couple of dangerous passes from Mahomes in the last game that could have been picked off, should have been picked off, one of them. And the Cowboys, as I recall, I think they've got almost every game there for the beginning of the season, they had a couple picks. And then I think they've only had one game without an interception. So this is a team that has excelled at they're not a great defense, but they have done a really good job of being opportunistic, which is what the Chiefs defense has traditionally needed to do. How concerned are you about Dallas's ability to take the ball away?
Well, I think you have to be concerned. Trayvon Diggs is 8 picks. Just an absolute ridiculous. No, I mean 8 picks. That not bad. So, listen, they are a fast defense, just like their offensive. They have a lot of speed. This is a group that you're going to have to be able to make some plays in the open field against. I mean, they're very, very, very athletic, but with speed sometimes comes over pursuit. Also, can you get somebody to bite on a double move? I know Trayvon Diggs, that is something teams have had success with. Denver did it to him. New England did it to him. But they will take the ball away. You're right. And look, they're going to be hurting up front. No Randy Gregory. DeMarcus Lawrence is still out. He's been out most of the year. But Micah Parsons is probably the defensive rookie of the year. He's been great. And he's somebody that the Chiefs are going to have to be aware of at all times.
Yeah, and the Chiefs just need to continue to build momentum, right? I don't want to see that situation where they have that turnover and then they start to panic or they start pressing. Right. Try to play sharp football. We may even see what I'm hoping for from the offense is a more complete game than they played against the Raiders, where the Raiders, there were still some missed plays that could have gone for touchdowns. I think I saw a news report. Forgive me, I can't remember who said it, but that some of the people in the Chiefs locker room felt like they should have scored 60 in that game against the Raiders because of some plays that they left on the field. And so if they are on a progression here and things are incrementally improving, then I'm looking for some of those plays that Mahomes overthrew guys or missed guys to go for touchdowns in a game like this. And we see one of those games where they come out and for the first half or whatever, they're just really cooking, pretty much doing whatever they want. Because that's what they're going to need to do, I think, against this Dallas team is going to put up points.
They are. Look, I think, the number is 56.5, and it's going to be right around that, I would think. You're going to see some if Kansas City holds Dallas under 20 points, then I think it really is time to start talking about this defense almost as if, hey, it's not only turned the corner, but gone completely the other direction. It's by the way, Clint, that's a hilarious comment. And tell your boss he's got to understand. Listen, I do think in this game, yes, the Chiefs are going to have to score some points. That's inarguable. But I don't think it's a game where they're going to have to score 35. Maybe I'm wrong. I think if they get to 30, they got a good shot to win the game. And that's a lot of points. But that's not for them, though. That's normal. That's typically what they do. I really believe in this game, if the offensive line can continue to play the way it's been playing, and Mahomes has time, which he should. Parsons is a good pass rusher. They do not have anybody else is a good pass rusher in this game. If they can give him time, I think Kansas City's going to be fine. Dallas' secondary is not great. Their linebackers are fine. They're not great. Like, the Chiefs should be able to do some stuff in this football game. And I think, look, every game's different. But I want to see the Chiefs play stylistically the way they played against the Raiders. Like, go for those intermediate shots. Take those opportunities. Don't sit back. Look, if you have to check it down, that's fine. But don't just immediately go to check it down. And on the flip side of that too, don't just whale it in double coverage. And yes, Evan, the entire world crashed down on us, but we are back. It's been such a struggle for them offensively to this point. But then, over the last month, then of course the Raiders game opens the floodgates. I think if you're the Chiefs, you just continue to play the way stylistically, schematically, mentally, the way you played Sunday. Attack. And then, all right, if nothing's there and you can check down for 6, check down for 6. But I think Kansas City should have success in this game. I really do.
I want to see I think the big advantage that the Chiefs can have in a game like this, if the Cowboys play the Chiefs the way other teams have been playing them with the too high shell, is to the time of possession. I think that is going to put a lot of pressure on Dallas, just like it did on the Raiders. It kind of flipped the script a little bit, right? Because earlier in the season, when Kansas City's defense was playing so poorly, it was, we were getting these feeling that Chiefs offense felt like they needed to go out there and score every time, that they couldn't punt, and then they were forcing it and they were making mistakes. And then on the flip side of that, when you've got the Chiefs going on these long, there's got to be something mentally that happens to, Derek Carr or to Dak Prescott or Patrick Mahomes when they're standing there on the sidelines and they haven't been in the game in 7 minutes, 8 minutes of game clock, 9 minutes game clock, and they're sitting there and they're like, Jesus Christ, I have got to get back in the game and answer this. It's probably more frustrating for them, but like as fans, I know when I'm sitting there on the couch and it's like, you get first down, second down, you get them to third down, then they convert, and then you get the third down again, and then they convert. It's really, really frustrating. And I want to see the Chiefs do that to the Cowboys in this game. I want to see them those early drives, make the Cowboys start pressing on offense, because when teams start pressing, that's when maybe your timing's off on a throw, or you take a deep shot that maybe you shouldn't have taken when the first down was there. And that's part of playing defense, right? It's not just stopping them every time, it's forcing them into not executing. And I think that's what the Chiefs have been doing a good job of on defense the last few weeks. And I think if they can do it here, it's really going to go a long way towards them getting the victory.
Defense in the NFL is about being disruptive and making situational plays. That's what it's about. Like, defense in today's NFL, it is really, really, really about how do you play on third down? How do you play in the red zone? Very rarely, and it happens, there are defenses that do, but like very rarely are there defenses that are just lights out and you can't move the ball on them. In today's league, the rules are so slanted towards offenses that most defenses, even great ones, they're going to give up 300 yards, 325. I mean, it's going to happen. So you have to be good in the red zone. You have to be good on third down. You have to be opportunistic, and I'm a big believer too. Like, when you get a penalty on the other team, when you get a holding call and it's 2nd and 20, you have to get off the field. Like, those can't be, and especially in a game like this where Dallas is a very potent offense. If you get a penalty on Dallas and it's 1st and 20 or it's 2nd and 15, you have to win that series. You have to win it right. You can't allow, a swing pass to then you have 2 broken tackles and go for 12 yards and it's 3rd and 2 and they convert. So I think so much of it with Kansas City. Look, guys, I always say, if you kick a field goal against the Chiefs, you might as well punt. It doesn't matter. You have to be good defensively in situational football. They've been that. I mean, we talked about it in the last podcast. The Raiders had -3 yards. -3 yards on third down. Like, that's how you win. I mean, that's an extreme example, of course, but like, that's how you win. That's how you win games. And I'd have to look up the red zone stats for recent games, but I'll tell you what, I can tell you right now, they're a lot better the last 5 weeks. They've not been perfect. They're a lot better. It's not just
well, you couldn't have been worse.
No,
couldn't have been worse than they were early in the season.
They've gotten much better in these situational spots. And, I also think, by the way, if you watch, and I don't have data to back this up, but this is just an eye thing, they're blitzing a lot more on third down. And part of the reason they're blitzing a lot more on third down is because they're getting teams with the longer downs and distances. That gets overlooked. So everybody always talks about first down and talk about third down. Nobody talks about second down. And it matters because let's say it's 2nd and 8, okay, and it's an incomplete pass. Now it's 3rd and 8. You can do a lot of different things on 3rd and 8 as a defensive coordinator. If you pick up 5 yards on 2nd and 8, it's 3rd and 3, it limits you. You're not going to blitz as much. You can get the ball quicker, pick up first down. I mean, it all works in tandem. And the Chiefs have played much better. But it's going to take a big effort against a Cowboys team that is very talented. And if the Chiefs make a bunch of mistakes in this game, they're going to get beat for it.
Yeah, and we appreciate you all out there who came back after the stream went down. If you could do us a favor and hit that thumbs up button, it'll help more of those folks find the content. So hit that thumbs up in the YouTube. We appreciate it. I wanted to go through a little bit of Dallas's schedule because obviously they're looking really good. They're 7-2. They don't play in as strong a division as the Chiefs, but it's a big part of who you played. And one of the reasons the Chiefs are the record they have right now is they weren't playing well and they played some really good teams. So for Dallas, they lost to Tampa Bay and then they rattled off a 6-game winning streak. They beat the Chargers 20-17, Philly, Carolina, the Giants, New England. That game went to overtime. Dallas pulled it out. They got a good road win against a tough Vikings team, 20-16. And then, and that was with Prescott out, by the way. Then they come and they have this inexplicable game against Denver, who is not a good football team. Talented, they have talent on that team, but as a whole, they're not a good football team. And Prescott's first game back, maybe you could blame some of that. They got waxed 30-16 in that game. And then they turn around, they play another bad football team in Atlanta and beat them 43-3. God, poor Atlanta, poor Matt Ryan. But so what do you make of Dallas's schedule so far? A little soft, struggled with some teams the Chiefs have either, beaten or competed with, at least in the Tampa and Los Angeles. But what's your take on their schedule so far?
I mean, it's been soft. I think it's the second easiest schedule in football at this point. But I give them credit. Look, they've pounded some teams. Like, I don't think Dallas is a fraud. I don't know that I think Dallas is better than some of the other teams in the NFC. Like, I wouldn't take him against Tampa. I wouldn't take him against the Rams. I wouldn't take him against the Packers. But I do think they're a very good team. But yes, I mean, they also they play in a division that they're going to win by 8 games because the division's terrible. Ezekiel Elliott's joined the chat. Welcome. All right. I think there's a very good chance that Dallas wins 13 games this year. And if you're doing that, I don't care who you are, who you're playing, you're a really good team. I mean, I think Dallas's offensive personnel is as good as anybody's in the league. And I do believe in this game. Look, this is going to come down to me. I said it earlier. Kansas City's defense, how well do they play? Situational. And Dallas, I do not think the Cowboys are going to get a ton of pressure in the game. So they're going to have to cover. Can they do it against a Chiefs team that all of a sudden has kind of found itself here? Because that is going to be the one thing. If they can't get pressure, the Chiefs are going to double move. They're going to try to get deep down the field. And then who is going to be on Kelsey? How do the Cowboys deal with Kelsey? Do they double him? Do they try to mix up their looks? I think it's really interesting. I really do. I think it's a fascinating game between two teams that are very good, that are very talented. And I see the Cowboys question, just out of curiosity, why do they have CD field punt? Because he's incredibly gifted. I mean, just like the Chiefs had Tyreek Hill return punts for years before it became too risky, right? It's just he's an incredible athlete. And he'll move around, by the way, offensively. They'll put him in the slot. He'll be outside. He is going to be a very tough cover. He is a great player. And so the Chiefs are going to have to find ways to match up with him.
Yeah, and appreciate the Cowboys fans out checking out the stream. Obviously, it's a Chiefs podcast, but get some analysis and a little insight for you all on Kansas City. So when you look at this game, obviously the Chiefs have been without Clyde Edwards-Helaire for a number of weeks now. There are rumors he's practicing again. He could come back for this game. But the Chiefs have a bye week next week. If you're Andy Reid and the Chiefs, do you try to force CEH back, or do you try to just roll with the guys that you've had the last couple of weeks who've been playing pretty well at running back? Go with Darrell Williams, let Clyde rest for another week, and then he gets the bye week, and so that's essentially he's not going to play football for if he doesn't play this week. He gets essentially 3 weeks of extra rest before he has to take the field again. Or do you want to get him out there? And if he is out there, do you think he makes an impact?
If he's healthy, I'd play him. I mean, if he's healthy enough to play, I'd play him. It's a big game, but I wouldn't just roll into this thing and say, "Oh, let's give him the ball 25 times." I mean, I think Darrell Williams is coming off the best game of his career, all told, and McKinnon's done a nice job in a limited duty. I wouldn't just go 0 to 100, But if he's healthy and he's ready to play, then I would make him active and I'd play him. Listen, I'm with a lot of Chief fans who feel like Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been fine in his career. He's not a bad player. He's not a great player. That being said, he's the best all-around back they have. He is. So if you want to go back to him, I have no problem with that. I also understand the train of thought. Hey, look, give him another week. You get the bye. I totally understand that too. But I think if you're the Chiefs, if he can play, you play him because you have 7 games to go and they all matter. And you look around the conference, this is a huge week. The Bengals play the Raiders. That feels like almost like a playoff game right now. I mean, whoever loses that game's in dire straits. The Bills and the Colts play each other this week. That's a big game. The Steelers and the Chargers play each other. That's a big game. There's a lot of games. Teams are going to be losing games. If Kansas City loses, they're going to fall behind those teams that, of course, are also winning games. If Kansas City wins, you gain a lot of ground. So, big opportunity this week. And Denver's, even if you care about Denver, they're on a bye. So the Chiefs can pick up a half game there as well.
Yeah, and for the Chiefs, this is a great time to, now that they've gotten back into the thick of everything, they got a chance to get a little bit of separation. If they lose, they really got to slog it out the last few games of the season. If they win, here's their schedule after the bye week. Home against Denver, home against the Raiders, at Los Angeles, home against Pittsburgh, and then they finish the season on the road at Cincinnati and at Denver. So it's just, I mean, they're and you couldn't have said this a couple weeks ago, but they're masters of their own destiny now at this point with the AFC West. They're in first place. They take care of business. They're going to be in good shape. This Dallas game is a really important game. For me, when I look at this game, like this is the game where they've got to make up for that loss against the Baltimore Ravens because they should have won that football game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't fumble. They kick the field goal at the end of the game. They win it. And they've got, they're in much, much better shape. And we're talking about, can they get the 1 seed? Not can they win the AFC West, right? The way things have gone. Yeah. So this is it's kind of a makeup game for them. It's a game where I think if you looked at the schedule earlier in the season, you're like, that game against Dallas, like a non-conference game, it's going to be a tough matchup. They lose it. It's not going to be a big deal. But where they're at now, huge game for the Chiefs.
No question. Every game's a huge game for the Chiefs. Now, look, if they lose this game, would I still pick them to win the division? Yeah, I would, because I think Kansas City's schedule after the bye is pretty light, and I think they'll handle business. But if you win this game, the difference becomes then I think you start looking at, okay, can they get to the 1 seed? Like if they win this game, they go to the bye 7-4, okay? All of a sudden you start looking at this. I think you say, look, they could win out. I'm not sitting here saying I'd like throw money down on that, but there's not a game the rest of the way that they beat Dallas. You're like, oh, that's a game they're not going to win. I mean, the Chargers game's probably the hardest game. Maybe the Bengals game's hard. I mean, depending on how the Bengals play here over the next month plus. But yeah, I think if you're Kansas City, you'll be pushing. And I see Elijah's right. Titans have a fairly easy schedule, and they do. But even with that, like let's say the Titans win enough games, they win 13 games, the Chiefs can't catch them. Being the 2 seed matters because you get guaranteed 2 home games. And if the Titans were to lose in the divisional round, which let's be honest, I think we all believe is very possible. If that were to happen, you're the de facto 1 seed. Yeah. Like it matters if you're a 2 seed. And that is wide open. The Ravens are going to lose games. The Bills are going to lose some games. Kansas City has a shot. Now, of course, they got to beat them outright. They can't tie with them. Kansas City's got a shot to get to that, for sure. And I get there's no bye with that, but that 2 seed does matter. That's 2 home games. That is a big deal. So yeah. I think for Kansas City, you're fighting for that. You're fighting for that hard.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to our keys to the game. So I'll start with you, Verderame. We've talked about a lot of different elements of this one, but what are your big 1 or 2 keys that the Chiefs have to accomplish to get this win?
I've already said I think they've got to win on third down defensively, and I think they've got to win in the red zone on both sides of the ball. And I look, I'm a broken record because I say it a lot. That's where you win and lose football games in the NFL. And for me, if the Chiefs can win defensively on third down, I would say, keep Dallas around 35% or so. You do that on third down, you're going to win the game. And of course, look, like every week, it cannot be a bunch of turnovers. It cannot be a bunch of penalties. They will get killed if they turn the ball over a bunch in this game. Yeah. So to me, it's execution, basic execution, turnovers and penalties. And then defensively, it is third down and red zone. Beyond that, if you want to get a real matchup thing, I think you've got to be able to pressure Dak, which you talked about. And that if you can do that, any quarterback, that's not just Dak, but any great quarterback, if you pressure them, they become average. They do. Every quarterback in the history of the NFL, more pressure you get, the worse they become. So if the Chiefs can accomplish a couple of those things, I think they're in good shape.
I'm with you. I think that, from my first key also is get pressure on Prescott. I think the Chiefs are going to play a little bit of man in this game. I don't think that they want to get bled to death. They don't want Ezekiel Elliott to get going. And he's in the chat, and he's already said he's going to rush for 300 yards in this game. So you know what his goals are for the game. You don't want that guy to get going. Make him throw the ball. Maybe you get some drops. Let your cornerbacks do some work. But if they're sitting in zone, or they've got Dan Sorensen running around out there, it's going to be a huge problem. I think we see a similar game plan, like I said earlier, to the Titans game. I think if I was the Chiefs coaching staff, they're looking at that game. I think they're probably reasonably happy with how they played on defense. I know Tannehill made some great throws, but I think the problem was the offense in that game, not necessarily the defense. The other team made some plays. Force Dallas to make some plays through the air in this game is the way I would go. And my second key is, and this is a little bit different than the way that the Chiefs usually play on defense, or at least they have the last few years. Forget performing in the red zone. Keep Dallas out of the red zone. I don't want this team getting into the red zone. They're too talented. They're too multiple. Like the fact that Prescott can use his legs, the fact that they can use Tony Pollard out of the backfield, the fact that they have Ezekiel, and then they have all these like solid receivers and good tight end, by the way, as well. Schultz, I think it's going to be really difficult for the Chiefs to stop them once they get in the red area. I think they're much better off. And the other thing too, and the way that the NFL is going, and especially the way that teams are playing the Chiefs, you get them into the red zone and you get them to a 4th and 1, guess what? Oh, they're going for it. And they're going to get it. They're almost certainly going to get it. So, just don't let them get down there. I think, you get them in those 4th downs and they're on your 45, 43, they're going to think about it. They're going to think about it, especially if the Chiefs offense is playing well, and they might just go ahead and punt or do something stupid and try a long field goal. So I know that's not easy, but I think to your point earlier, it's going to come down to, can we get them in 3rd and longs? Can we, and this should be a big Nick Bolton game on early downs. They need to get him out there, have him charging downhill, get to Zeke in the backfield, get to Tony Pollard in the backfield, stop them at the line, make it a passing down. So if you get a drop pass on 2nd down or a sack or something like that, now you're in business. They don't get in the red area, and you essentially steal possession. So those are my keys. All right, let's get to, we've got a reader review. And as you guys know, you listen to this podcast, you watch on YouTube. If you're active in the chat, you'll probably get featured up here. And if you ask us a question over on Apple Podcasts, you leave us a review, we're going to answer it on the podcast. So as you know, if you've been following the last couple of weeks, especially this version of the podcast, which happens earlier in the day, which means it happens later across the pond, we're very international. We're huge in Sweden. We're huge in Germany. But also right here on this side of things, Canada. This one comes from our guy Epic Canadian Barbecue, which I didn't even know Canadian barbecue was a thing. I thought you just put gravy on fries up there. So I'm interested. I don't know. Am I interested to try Canadian barbecue? You ever had Canadian barbecue, Verderame?
I would. I'm a big fan of barbecue, so I look. I'm and the other man is himself, Epic Canadian Barbecue, right?
There he
Been in
is.
out all day, been there hanging
He's
out.
gonna have to
I would
educate
give it a
us.
shot. By the way, I will say real quick. I will say my favorite city that I've ever visited, Toronto.
It's a great city.
Love
It's
Toronto.
like cleaner New
Love
York.
San Francisco. San Francisco's awesome, but man,
Yeah.
Toronto is so convenient. Everybody's so nice. It's a great, and I love hockey. So Toronto is like the cathedral of all things hockey. But it's an awesome city.
Yeah.
I've been up there probably half a dozen times. Love it.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the review here. He says, Arrowhead Addict is the best, all caps. I'm a huge Chiefs fan up in Canada. My name is Casey, so I'm a huge barbecue guy and love football. So it was a match made in heaven since I was a kid. I love listening to Arrowhead Addict because where I live, I don't have access to local Chiefs content. And this show is just perfect. Great content, funny, and I really appreciate that you're fans, but not homers. I'll leave a question for you. Being a Canadian, I've never made it to Arrowhead Stadium for a game, but I hope to one day. When I finally make it to Kansas City, what's the number one game day experience that I have to do that will knock my trip out of the park? Thanks, and keep up the great work. Go Chiefs. You know, Verderame and I can relate because neither of us are actually from Kansas City. Verderame's obviously from New York. You might have heard when he speaks, and I'm from Northeast Ohio. So I'll say for me, and this might sound a little generic, but go to the tailgate as early as possible. But the tip isn't just to do the tailgate. Everybody knows it's a great tailgate at Kansas City. But my tip to you is be social. Don't just sit at your car or toss a football around. Walk around and just introduce yourself to other Chiefs fans. That has been the most rewarding thing for me when I've gone to Arrowhead is how friendly everybody is. I've been invited into people's, buses and their tailgate machines, and everyone's willing to give you some of their barbecue or give you a beer. And that's the cool thing. And I know it can be like a little anxiety inducing for some people to like walk up to strangers, but when you go to Arrowhead, you're with your people, you're with your tribe, you're with fellow Chiefs fans. Everybody's happy to see you. And especially for two guys who are not from Kansas City. And so we're not around a lot of Chiefs fans all the time. And you're obviously not up in Canada. It's fun. It's really fun to meet other Chiefs fans and to hang out with them. So that's my advice is walk around the tailgate, get to know the people around you. If somebody looks like they have an interesting tailgate setup, just walk up and introduce yourself and be like, hey, I'm from Canada. I've never been to Kansas City before. My first game at Arrowhead. I saw your tailgate. It looks great. I guarantee you, next thing you know, you'll be eating some great ribs and drinking a beer with those folks.
Yeah. So, by the way, I see in the chat, Future Trunk says, I'm 100% serious. I'm from Germany where we don't have those things. What is to tailgate? So, with tailgating, just a lot of NFL stadiums have it. Some actually really don't because of the way they're located. But it's just getting to the game early, and a lot of people cook out in the parking lot, have beers, hang out, just basically have a little bit of a party before the game, and then go in. But in Kansas City, it is amazing. I mean, I've been to a lot of stadiums, for work and for pleasure. Arrowhead, you can smell Arrowhead as you're like approaching it. I mean, you just smell the barbecue. It's great. I think you nailed it, man. But also I saw it thrown in there down the line. It was explore the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Daniel throws it out there, and I agree with him. Like that. Yeah. Get there early, spend time. Hell, you got to pay $40 to park the damn car. So you might as well enjoy it, right? But if you're in the city and you're just like, what should I do for a night in the city? The plaza is awesome. There's a lot to do in the plaza. A lot of shops, a lot of places to eat. Kansas City's a really fun city. It really is. Like I think also if you're into this kind of thing, I know with COVID it's kind of changed, but KC Live is a great spot. It's right downtown, Power and Light District.
Power and Light, yeah.
It's like $10, I think, to get in. And you have access to like every place in this open area or open air area where it's they have bars and restaurants, whatever, and it's a lot of fun. Music. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. It's a fun place to experience the NFL. It really is. I mean, I've been to New England. I've been to Buffalo. I will tell you one thing. I got to be fair. Buffalo is an event unto itself. I mean,
Yeah.
those people going through tables.
The circus.
I've seen some things. I've been to the Bills Stadium at least 3 times, 4 times. I've seen some things in the parking lot that we can't talk about on the show. But
Yeah.
let's just say, look, people having a good time, people enjoying each other's company, people not worrying about if they're in public and enjoying each other's company. But
Yeah.
Buffalo is its own. New England's totally different. Like New England, it's a little more reserved, and it's a lot of seafood, which is cool. But it's just a different vibe. It's a totally different vibe.
I want something cooked on the grill. I want to be eating clams out in the parking lot.
Shrimp?
You damn, yuppies up there in New England. Give me some good old Midwest barbecue sauce ribs. Yeah, it's and yeah, to that point, show up early. Like get in line and get into the tailgate as soon as you can, so that you can really enjoy it. If you want to have food of your own, you can spin by Gates, and you can pick up just like a big box of barbecue and bring it. So because obviously you're coming from out of town, you don't have a grill, you can't do the whole thing. So you can have that with your rental car. Walk around, introduce yourself to people. I saw somebody in a chat say, check out the Hall of Fame. And yeah, that's awesome. Take some time to get into the stadium early too. Don't most of the people that are used to Arrowhead, they stay in the parking lot as long as possible, drinking their own beer, eating their own food before they get in and pay those prices. But get in the stadium early if you've never been there before, and just walk around Arrowhead. Historic stadium. It's beautiful. They've done some renovations to it, and just check out the different concourses and check out the Hall of Fame, which I think they moved kind of inside. It used to be out in a concourse.
How early is early? A good 4 hours for the game.
yeah, at least. Yeah.
Early.
Yeah, they start lining up early.
Game, get there at 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've never. No, the first game I ever went to was a noon kick. Most of the games I've ever gone to have been night games.
Night games. Cold. We've gone to a couple. We went to one game in December against the Raiders, which did we lose that one?
No, they won. They won. That was that famous
Thank God.
Tyreek return in the punt game.
That's right. Yeah. That's where I got my fleece Chiefs blanket that I bought in the team shop for $90.
Did you get a Montana jersey there or something?
So cold. I did get a Montana jersey. Yeah. Got my Montana jersey finally. That was a cold ass game. Yeah, that's the other thing. My other tip is, for your first time, if you can, come in the fall. Don't come to a December game. The tickets will be cheaper, but it just can get really cold, and it'll zap a little bit of the fun from you. October is a great time to go to Arrowhead.
Yeah, I love the cold, man. If I'm going, I'm going in December, January. I mean, that Raiders game we went to, it was 6 degrees. It was the second coldest game in Arrowhead's history, and it was. My wife will not return to Arrowhead Stadium after that. She's still thawing out. I remember at halftime, you stand for the whole game, and I remember I was like, "Oh my God, I can't feel my legs." I went to halftime to go to the bathroom, and I literally couldn't feel my legs. It was so cold, so I just stood there. I mean, the hell with it. I'll go to the bathroom after the game. I stayed there. But they won. They won. It was an awesome game. But anyway, as you reach jumping in, saying September, October, the best at Arrowhead. It's all fun, man. It all is fun. If my wife wouldn't kill me, I'd love to go to a game like the day after Christmas, the Pittsburgh game. But my wife there would be a divorce. So
all right, we got to get into and thank you for the reviews. Again, if you head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a question in your written review, and you'll be featured on the podcast as well. And we'll maybe do a 10-minute segment on your question. All right, so we got to get to it. It's prediction time. I'm going to start with you, Verderame. How do you think this one turns out? What's your final score?
30-23, Kansas City.
Wow.
I think the Chiefs are going to win. Look, the Cowboys are definitely good. And CD Lamb's involved. Good. We're getting everybody. The whole team's come on over.
The whole team's over.
That's actually hilarious. Listen, look, the Cowboys could definitely win the game. No question. They're a really good team. Like I said earlier, I don't buy into some of this narrative. Oh, they're frauds. I don't think they're frauds. I think they're a very good team. I do think the Chiefs have a coaching advantage in this game. Kellen Moore is a great offensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy, not really a great head guy. I think even Cowboys fans would tell you he's a little bit of a liability here. I wonder how that factors into a game where there's two very good teams. Like a lot of times games like this, they turn on little things. You know, one bad decision with a challenge, you blow a timeout, or your clock management, which Andy used to be atrocious with, has gotten much better with as years have gone on. But like that's something where McCarthy has had some mind-numbing decisions this year with clock management. Like, does that cost him 3 points in this game? If that's a huge 3 points against Kansas City in this type of game. Yeah. So I think it's 30-23. I think Dallas is going to move the ball, but I think it's a game where the Chiefs do force a few field goals. And with the offense, I expect the Chiefs to build off what they did last week. I don't think they score 40 again. That's a little bit of a reach, I believe. But like I think the Chiefs are going to move the ball okay because I don't think Dallas is going to get a ton of pressure. If you don't get pressure, it comes down to execution. The last couple games, the Chiefs have not turned the ball over. They're executing much better. I think they're in a good spot. I really do. So I'll go 30-23.
I've got it Chiefs, let's say 31, Dallas 27. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be a nail biter, but the Chiefs are at home. Chiefs, as you mentioned, have a coaching advantage. They should have a quarterback advantage if he shows up like he did last week. So, but a tight game. I just think that the Dallas is a good football team and they got a lot of talent on offense. So it's going to be I know, full screen faces. We apologize for that. I don't know what happened.
That might cost therapy. Somebody's therapist is about to have a retirement plan based off that.
NC-17 rating flashed up on the screen. I'm sorry if you had kids around. That was brutal. Yeah. Once I put a clip of our podcast
it's my face.
Yeah, right. I put a clip of the podcast up on the TV once for my wife. She wanted to see. And you and me, HD, 55-inch TV.
That's tragic.
It's a lot of better things we could have put up on the TV. So listen, here's the schedule, y'all. We will be back on Sunday as soon as the game is over. We'll be right here on the YouTube channel, hopefully with no technical difficulties. Hoping I've got a victory beer all fired up for that one. That's the way I've been doing. I've been putting a beer in. If the Chiefs are if the Chiefs are playing well at halftime, I put a beer in the fridge, right? And that's the victory beer. And then I drink it if they win. If they don't win, no beer for me. And then that way I'm not just drunk and depressed after it's over. And it's been working out, helping out my self-esteem and the old waistline. Into that.
There you go. Gonzo, can we please get a watch along with Matt? Listen, that might happen before this year's over.
We've talked about it. Yeah.
We have discussed that. And Mason, believe me, if they stink again, you're going to get one. So don't worry about it. I know, like I saw a handful of people say that in the last chat. Like, this is more entertaining when they lose. And I'm sorry. I'm genuine. If there's one thing, like I'm not going to fake any. Like when they lose, that's the genuine article. That's how I feel. But I got to be fair. I hope I don't have to do that. I hope they just play well, and I don't have to go nuts. But you'll get one. If they're not playing well, you'll definitely get it. But look, I think Kansas City is a really, really, really talented team that found itself on Sunday night. We're going to find out. I mean, and by the way, they might play really well in this game and still lose. Like, that's possible because Dallas is good enough that, if they go toe-to-toe, who knows? But I do believe if Kansas City plays its best, it will win. That I believe. As good as Dallas is, if the Chiefs play their best game, I think they'll win the game.
I just want to throw this out there because it's just popped up on my Twitter feed. Matt Derrick from over at 810 tweeted, Chief CEO Clark Hunt says the plan to re-sign Tyrann Mathieu hasn't changed. Discussions took place with representatives during the offseason, but once the season began, it made sense for both sides to wait until the end of the season. Said club wants to keep his play on the field and keep his leadership. I don't know if that's news. I mean, look, that's coming from the owner, but what is he going to say? We're not planning to. We're going to see how this goes this season. We're going to see how it is afterwards. Of course, he's going to say they want to sign him.
Yeah, you know what though? I differ a little bit. And by the way, Sam, I see your question. Where should I watch the game in Chicago? Go to Tunes. It's Chiefs Bar.
Yeah,
Tunes. Toons. Great place. He didn't have to say that. He could have said, "And look, that's a better question for Brett." He could have said, that's not my decision. Or he could have said, we're going to revisit all options after the season. He didn't say that. He said they want to resign him. Now, I don't know that it's 30-inch headline type news, but I do think it is notable because he could have just said, no, it's not for me to say, that's for the front office. You could, we're going to look at this again in February. So I really do believe like that is interesting, at least. It maybe not a huge thing, but it's a thing. I do feel that way.
Yeah, and the folks in the chat, it's not Tones, Tunes, Toons.
Like Looney, like Looney Tunes, essentially.
Yeah, it's in the Lakeview neighborhood on the north side, Southport, and oh god, I forget the name of that cross street. Just north of Grace. It might be Byron, it might be Southport and Byron. But yeah, definitely check out Tunes. Fantastic. But listen, it's hugely popular. So if you want to go, and this is an evening game, you got to show up at like noon. Just go plan to sit there all day.
Yeah.
If you want to get a seat. Otherwise, you're just going to be crunch. I can't stand. I don't like standing and not being able to sit and like have my beer and stuff like that. I want to stand for 3 hours. So I recommend getting there early. I used to live around the corner. And I moved to the south side because I wanted a yard. So now I can watch it in my house. Kelly's in Lincoln Park. Nice. There's another place to watch Chiefs. That's always good to know. All right, everybody. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Verderame and I will do a watch party someday since we're both in the Chicagoland area. We could rent out a movie theater or something. Put the Chiefs game on. It'd be great. All right, everybody. We're going to get out of here. We got work to do, but appreciate you tuning in. Especially appreciate you dealing with some of the technical difficulties that we had today.
Yep.
If you could hit that thumbs up button on your way out, we'd appreciate it. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, please. And we will see you on Sunday night after the Chiefs beat the Dallas Cowboys. For Matt Verderame, my name is Patrick Allen. Appreciate your support. And as always, go Chiefs.